Divine healing of mind and body. Talk 4. I am the true vine, and you are the branches. My peace I bring to you. My peace remain with you. I am the true vine, and my Father is the worker. It is the Father, whoever remaineth within me, who is working through me. For the Father and I are one. We are never separated. We continually work together, and what I see the Father do, I do likewise. The branch that bears the fruit he prunes, so that it may bring forth more fruit. You all know that a branch that bears fruit will bring more fruit when that branch is pruned. The branch is you, and you are pruned because of the word I have given to you, the word that was in the beginning, and that very word is God. You will realize now that there is no other living being but the Father of all, and the Spirit of the Father dwelleth in every living soul, and I am the Spirit. God is Spirit, not a spirit, but Spirit. Spirit in itself is complete. It has power to manifest, to create the forms for its own expression. And as you become conscious of reality, you become one with reality in expression. This realization and recognition does not come all at once. You will notice how it grows in you. By diligent recognition and continual realization, there is an awakening within the soul as the soul begins to recognize that it is the Spirit of God that dwells within, and is the only living creative power in heaven and on earth. You have already been pruned because of the word I have given to you. Therefore you will bear more fruit in my name. I remain with you, and you remain with me, just as a branch cannot bear fruit unless it remains in the vine. So you cannot bear fruit unless you remain with me. The Christ alone has the power to speak in reality. Then speak in the name of Christ, and your word will not return unto you void. The Christ never speaks from mortal sense or from reaction to things external to itself, but Christ always speaks from God, and this you must learn, so that you can quiet the outside. The still, quiet voice is made manifest in the temple, not made with hands, but made by God himself. The Father worketh in the vine, so that the branches bear good fruit, and these who remain with me, and I with them, will bear abundant fruit. If therefore you remain with me, and my word remains with you, whatever you ask shall be done unto you. You have not yet grasped the great significance of what I have said. The Christ never begs, nor does the Christ demand, nor does the Christ command, the Christ manifest, because the Christ knows that it is the Father who doeth the work. The Son hath life in himself only because the Father hath life in himself. The life that is now eternally in himself, he gives it also eternally to his Son. The same life in the Father is the same life in the Son. In this way the Father will be glorified, that you bear abundant fruit and be my disciples. And as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you, that you may remain in this love. To remain in my love is the secret of all happiness. Without it, your life is barren. When the Christ dwells in the heart, then there is love, wisdom, and power, and the things that trouble you will pass away, for the Christ overcomes all. In this your joy will be full, for you did not choose me, I chose you. It is I who live within you, who is guiding you and helping you to choose the way. I urge you to recognize the truth of the only one living God. Therefore, love one another as I love you. There are those of the world who, not knowing me, will hate and say things against you. Know well that I was hated and despised before you. The ignorance of the world is still in the world, and it is the Christ that will overcome this ignorance through love, and the Christ lives in you. Yet this ignorance will hate you, will despise you, because you say that the Christ lives in you. But verily I say, fear not, for ignorance has no power. It cannot destroy the soul, nor the spirit. It cannot destroy that which it cannot see and does not know. It did not destroy me when it crucified me. It could not destroy the light it did not know. Therefore I am still alive, the living Christ of God, the only begotten Son of the Father. You know now that you are not of this world, that you are born of the Spirit, and the Spirit dwells in you. But the world is yet ignorant of the truth. But the Spirit of truth which proceeds from the Father will testify concerning me, and you will also testify because you have been with me from the beginning. If you will seek deep enough within yourself, you will find this truth. This truth shall testify regarding me, and this truth shall set you free. My word in you will glorify him who sent me, and you will be glorified by me in his presence. If my disciples were to keep me, they would lose the Christ of God. for I come to reveal the Father, so that I may come and abide with you all forever. You who have passed beyond the plane of mortal senses and entered into the greater consciousness of life understand more of God. You realize the great truth that there is no death, that you are still living, yet once dwelt in a body on earth. You are life. You are the same living expression of the Almighty. This life in you is the same life in me. This is the Christ, and I speak from the Christ that is life. If your faith is great, whatever you wish will be established at that very hour. These words are full of meaning and become greater when you know that I can come to all in the omnipotence of the Christ. I have shown you already that Spirit is our first and only real foundation. It has many channels and modes of expression, but it is the one and the only life, the only creative power. Through your consciousness this power is expressed. Let me explain to you how you hear me now. It is through recognition and realization of that truth that life is one, that the Father alone is the consciousness in you and me, and is expressing himself through his creation this way. The only way that the Creator can express himself in all his creation is through his consciousness, becoming aware of his creation, and his awareness in his creation becomes the consciousness in you and me. I enter the life consciousness being expressed through our brother. My consciousness overshadows his, just as a greater light overshadows a lesser, yet the same source light shines in us both. Here is a most wonderful manifestation. Some people will say phenomena, but really there is no phenomena, but the expression of that one life becoming aware of itself through the consciousness of another. The brother is able to take his departure from this body at any time. He does not really take his departure, as one would say, but recedes from the outer consciousness into the inner consciousness, and by receding into the inner consciousness is able to come into contact with you at any time. He is able to treat you, to help you. He is able to call upon me at any time to bring more aid and help when it is necessary. Therefore, through the sanctuary, silent healing work is being done all over the world, and as the consciousness in man becomes more aware of this tremendous power that is within, it begins to express this power. Infinite, eternal, and perfect love is in the world, because God is love, and love is God. And the consciousness must become aware of this to express true love, the secret of divine bliss. The consciousness of the brother is lifted from the personal to the universal, yet this does not mean the loss of identity, but a greater amount of individuality in unity with the all. The Christ is the individuality of the Father being expressed. There is no separation between the Christ and the Father, for they are one. The Father being expressed in individuality is the Christ in you now. But as the Christ recedes into the consciousness of the life that dwells everywhere, thus I can come to all of you in the omnipotence of the Father. And whoever asks anything in my name, it shall be done, for the Father and I are one. In this way your consciousness is also lifted up. The consciousness of man must be lifted up to recognize the consciousness of God. And it is through these talks that your consciousness is being raised from the consciousness of the self to recognize the consciousness of God, the indwelling Christ. The Lord dwells in his holy temple, the temple not made with hands, but by the word that flows from the mouth of God. And I am that word. Nothing has come into being except through me. You must realize the consciousness of God within yourself, because through that alone have you come into being. Man on the plane of mortal sense has tried to explain with his finite mind the infinite wisdom of love and God. Would you, in your new knowledge, dare to limit the Holy One to that of a person? Man who does not know himself dares to explain the whole of God? Your faith must not rest in the wisdom of man, but in the power and love and wisdom of God. The love, wisdom, and power of God existed before the world was, but none of the rulers of the world knew it. Had they known it, they would not have crucified me. Yet through my crucifixion all will come to know the truth, that I was before the world was formed. The Spirit of God was before the world was formed, and the Spirit has been made flesh and dwells on earth. Yet the same Spirit dwells in heaven. For it was by me and through me that the world became form. This was the wisdom of God, the Father being expressed through the Son of the very living God. And I am he that liveth in you. It is written that the eye has not seen, and the ear has not heard, and the heart of man has not conceived the things that God has prepared for him who love him. Yet God has revealed them to me by his Spirit, for the Spirit searches and reveals everything, even the depths of God. It is the Christ that is within that knoweth the mind of man, and no one knoweth the mind of God except the Spirit of God. Know that the Christ discerns everything, yet no one can describe him. It is the Christ that discerns the false. It is the Christ that knows the truth. The Christ, being all-powerful, dissolves the ignorance in this world. Around you at this moment there are probably 250,000 souls listening to my talks, many of them mingling with yourselves. You hear my voice here upon the physical, yet in the inner plane my voice is also heard, also by many who are just awakening to the truth of the Christ within themselves. I am the Christ of God, the very Spirit of God, that was before the world began, and through me all things that come to be were created. If you seek deep enough within yourself, you will learn of him, who is the greatest in his meekness, the highest in his lowliness. Your personality becomes clear as you learn to realize your relationship to the whole. Your mind clears as you become filled with holy reverence. The heart center is filled with light. The weakest and lowliest and the meekest person has the whole universe to draw upon. No matter who you are or what you are, remember that the Christ dwells in you. The Christ is often hidden by the ignorance of mortal senses that can only hear from without. But if you will awaken to the Christ within, the still, quiet voice that is all power will manifest itself through you. This awakening is the realization of your oneness with all, with God, who is all. For this is my Son that was dead and is come to life, was lost and is now found. For heaven is more joyful over one that was once lost and now found than 99 that did not stray. Many are angry because the Father loveth the lost sheep, yet I say unto you, that one hath more need of the Father's love. Believe in me, and know that the love of God is expressed through me, and that I love everyone, even those who despise me. My awareness of God is never clouded by injustice done. My awareness and understanding of the Father's love enables me to enter into this true state where I could say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. There are those who may not have strayed from the fold, yet are unable to partake of the gifts the Father provides for all who love him, because they do not know that they are always with him. They call and cry out with a loud voice to God, thinking that he may hear them from far off. But I tell you that I am he who lives and dwells in you. I am the Son of God. I am the light of the world. I am the true individuality of the Father, and whatever I ask of the Father will provide. If you can ask, then in my name, recognizing me in yourself, whatever you ask will be done unto you. The Father is always saying in your heart, if you will but hear him, My son, you are always with me, and everything that is mine is thine. You exist because God is, and all he has is yours. Many of you seem to lack vitality. This is because you live an unequal existence in the 3 planes of manifestation, spiritual, mental, and physical, or spirit, soul, and body. This unequal state of existence is brought about by your belief in the fact that life is deprived from some external source. The majority of you pay too much attention to the body and too little attention to the source of life. You should recognize first the Spirit is the only source of life and vitality. Draw from that source first. Then the soul and body will be nourished and fed. It is God who inspires you with the will to do the good things you desire to do and the power to do so according to your understanding, for God is always inspiring you to do his will. To love God, you must also love your neighbor, because God is your neighbor. If you love me, then you must love those around you, because they are also me. You have been given free will to act according to the law known to yourself, but when the Christ is on the throne, then the Christ manifests perfectly. Let this Christ in you be enthroned in the holy temple, the temple of the living God, not made with hands. The secret of accomplishment is to do all things without disputing and doubting. This brings into operation the creative power to accomplish. Only on earth can you do this great work. You do not know yet how important it is to work now. Spirit cannot be separated from spirit. It is indivisible. I want these talks to help you to enter into your own now. If you realize that the Spirit of Christ is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient, then why do you wait? It is wrong for you to hope and expect the grace of God only in some future time. The Spirit in you is the Christ of God, and Spirit cannot be less than the greatest. Then let the Christ in you take possession of your soul and body, and all you hope for will come to pass. Remember, the Word was in the beginning, and that very Word was God. and God was that Word. Then be true to the Word. Remember the Word was in the beginning, and that Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Your thoughts are the outbreathing of this Word, the first cause of all. I am the Word, and my Word does not return to me void, but accomplishes that which I sent it forth to do. The Spirit is always revealing me, the Christ of God, and the Spirit will lead you all into truth. It is the truth that sets you free. Nothing else can set you free except the truth of the Almighty God. And when the truth of Christ dwells in you, the Word that was in the beginning, the Word that was made flesh, then there is no longer any fear or doubt. There are many who will allow antagonisms to enter into the heart and mind and prevent the Christ from manifesting. Let this Christ then dwell in your heart and be the light that shines in your soul. Then it will not be lip service. You work in God. You are the branches, and you are being pruned so that it will bring forth more fruit. I am the Word that prunes you. Do you recognize the meaning of my words? I speak not as a mortal, but as the Christ of God. I speak to you from the mortal sense in a spiritual state of consciousness, so that you will understand me. Your healing took place when God spoke in His holy temple, and all the senses were silenced by the presence of His quiet, still voice. All outside personalities cease to touch you when you enter into the blessed state of the Christ within. I am He who was in the beginning, and is now, and forevermore shall be. The scribe's remarks. Silence while heavenly music and singing are heard. Many of your loved ones who dwelt with you on earth have entered into the larger sphere of life's consciousness and are with you here now. They have gathered around you and can get close to you as you listen to me. Little as you know how close they are, they watch and pray with you. Listen to my word, and you will understand the inner voice, so that your life will be full, your bodies perfectly whole. You will be safe from harm or accident, for the veil that divides us is very thin. You can pierce it with your thoughts, and thus we can come to you. This and more will be revealed unto you. For I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. And as you listen to me, I will teach you. Do you think I am afar off? Do you think there is division in space that separates us? There is no separation in Christ. There is no separation in that one life that lives through all. God has not divided Himself. He has individualized Himself. But this is not division. It is individuality in unity. God created nothing separate from Himself, but through me He expresses Himself, and I am His Son. He who listens to me, free from limitation, shall know my voice, for I speak for the Father Himself, whoever remains within me. Let us now enter into the sanctuary of the silent healing power. I want you to keep your eyes open and look towards me, and you will realize that Christ that lives in each and every one of you. Seek ye first the love and wisdom of God, and all things shall be added unto you. The scribe's remarks. In the silence, a brilliant light lights up the whole of the auditorium. The face of the Master becomes so bright that we cannot gaze upon His face. Then He takes His departure with the words, "My peace and my love remain with you." End of talk.